Okay. Hi, guys. Good morning and welcome to today's RewirEd Talks. RewirEd Talks is basically an initiative taken by RewirEd. So it gives everyone, irrespective of who they are and their job or whether they are a student or not, an opportunity to express their opinions about education, the education system, how it can be improved, etc. Okay, so this is just going to be a discussion. Yeah, so please be active. And now if you could start with the introductions.
Okay, I guess I'll start. Hi, my name is Priya Lodha. I am 17 years old and I study at Cambridge International.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Ishana Raj. I'm also 17 and I study at Gems Aaron English High School, Dubai.
Okay, hi guys, my name is Darppan Sharma. I'm 16 years old and I also study at Cambridge International School, Dubai. So, so today, So today, today we're going to be talking about the following topics: COVID-19 and its impact on education, especially. We're going to be talking about exams, and we're going to be talking a little bit about further education. Okay, so let's start. So first, we're going to be talking about COVID-19. Last year, we were hit with quite an unexpected, very uncertain pandemic, right? And it brought a very unnatural pause to all of our lives, especially as students, right? And we experienced a lot of changes, and some of it was positive, some was negative. So I want to know, what were some changes you experienced during the start of the pandemic, when everything was very uncertain?
I think it was very unexpected. Sorry. I think it was very unexpected, first of all, because no one really saw this coming. And I think one of the biggest changes that I think all of us experienced was lockdown and, quarantining and how different it was from anything we've ever experienced in life. I remember looking out, at night times, and it's so weird to see Dubai come to such a standstill because everything is always lively and bustling about. And then suddenly there were no cars on the road, and this is something that impacted everyone globally, I think. So, yeah.
True. Very true. And it took all of us a lot of time to adjust to it, right?
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, Priya, what about
like Ishana said, it was very unexpected and everything came to a standstill. Everybody was suddenly inside their homes. Um, we weren't able to go out and do daily activities like we usually did, like go to our office, schools, and in general, the mood had become really tense. Some of us were experiencing tragedy back at home with the increase of cases in India. And it probably affected my learning too. At least in my experience, the negative experience I had was it affected my learning. With online learning, it was a new concept for everybody, and for a slow learner like me, it affected my learning, and my grades significantly suffered because of online school, because the teachers were struggling with um, new ways of teaching, finding new ways of teaching, and there was not that lively environment to learn in. Like usually when you are in a classroom, there's students discussing with the teacher and there's a board and it's easy to resolve your doubts. But in this case, it was just the teacher talking and us listening.
That's very true. Felt the same
and
way.
in most cases, we are distracted too because we are at home. Obviously, we don't have that kind of focus.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you keep seeing your bed, you really can't focus on studying.
Exactly.
So true.
I will just go back to sleep after like 5 minutes.
Yeah. So that brings me to our next topic, which was online learning. And all of us had it took us quite some time to adapt to it because it was very new, first of all. And two, I think personally, I experienced kind of a loss of focus, from
Mm-hmm.
studies, which was already
Mm,
very little to begin with. So it took me quite some time to adapt to it. What about you, Ishana?
I completely agree with what you said. It was, first of all, again, like how Priya said, it was so different, because none of us have ever tried online learning before. Even in school and even outside of school, it's just never happened. So I think both teachers and students had to take some time to adjust to this whole thing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, those were some of the challenges that we all faced, I think, was just adjusting and even having to establish a connection with the teachers. And we all started a new academic year, so we'd never met these teachers before.
Yeah.
So that was one
Another
challenge.
challenge. Right,
Yeah.
right, right. Very true. Yeah.
and we hadn't meet, and for students starting in new schools, we hadn't met the teachers or students.
Yeah, yeah.
We were just staring at a blank screen, expecting to get some kind of familiarity that, yeah, this is my new school in front of it, like in a Zoom call. It did not feel real.
Yeah, that is
Mm.
very true. And I mean, being new students, you expect to, just know someone very immediately, but obviously that didn't happen. Um, but
Exactly.
yeah, but one I think benefit that all residents of UAE, I think of Dubai especially, could say was that by I think September of 2020, people were given an option to start going to school, to start going to their offices, and kind of normalize things. I mean, it can't really be normalized, but try to bring
Yeah.
back a sense of normalcy. um, and a new mode was again introduced in schools, like face-to-face learning, right? Now,
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
that
Yeah.
one of you has gone to school and actually went properly and regularly. I want to know from both of you that what do you prefer, face-to-face learning or the new mode, online learning?
Learning wise, getting the information in your head, face-to-face learning, even if you do have to wake up super early again and go through all that torture of getting to school. But if I wanted to choose like comfort wise, like being able to sit in my bed and just listen to the teacher for like 5 minutes and then go back to sleep, then I would choose online learning. But definitely for my own good, on like physical face-to-face learning.
Okay. Okay, yeah, that's fair. That completely makes sense. What about you, Ashana?
It's the same answer for me as well. I think definitely, I think for I don't know how long, more than 10 years, we've been used to the brick and mortar system of education, right?
Yes.
So I'll definitely go for on campus learning. And I think there's that sense of there's that environment that you also have, with your friends and teachers. And it's
True.
definitely a lot healthier as compared to staring at a screen for 5 hours. So
Yes.
I would
Yeah,
choose.
Yeah, because
like
online
some
learning was
of us
definitely like
have
very
classes
unhealthy.
also.
Oh yeah. Oh, the physical dangers
Yeah,
of
yeah.
online learning.
Yeah,
Huh.
the strain that goes on your eyes when you're staring at the screen for like 7 to 8 hours straight is just too much.
Exactly. Yeah.
Plus,
True,
you aren't
true.
with your friends, so it gets depressing too after some time.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. True, true, true.
You don't get to see
And
your friends, and then it becomes just dull.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with online learning, that's the whole thing. Yeah, you're just alone in your room with your laptop, and your screen time has just like doubled or tripled. So it
Yeah.
really isn't all that healthy. But if you look at comfort, I think I'd go
Yeah,
for online learning.
you
Yeah,
get to
that's
stay
true.
in your bed.
True, that's one thing. And now that we're introduced to a new mode of learning, that is online learning, um, do you think it should continue after the pandemic? I mean, we don't know when the pandemic will end, when it could end, but say it ends next year. Do you think online learning should be continued?
Obviously, people will be paranoid after the pandemic ends because, well, some of us will still think that the COVID is out there. So
Yeah.
obviously we won't be comfortable with all of us going to school at once. So maybe they should keep up the online learning for 1 more year, like optional
Okay.
for people who are paranoid still. But I think after that, they should make it necessary for everyone to stay on campus.
Okay, that's a very good point. Yeah, I never
Yeah, I
thought
think
about it
so.
that way.
And I think I'm pretty sure your school also does this. We have the system of blended learning now, right? So some
Yeah.
people who opt for it can go to
Yeah,
school. So I think we could
true.
continue with that because another thing, apart from comfort for online learning, you also save a lot of time traveling.
True.
So
Exactly.
yeah, so I think that would also help a few people. So we could have the blended learning.
Okay. Yeah, I agree because with online learning, um, it's also economically feasible, right? Because you're not
Yeah,
spending money on transportation
yeah,
and you're saving that money altogether. And also, like if someone has health issues or other health concerns, they can attend class. They can continue with their studies. And
Exactly. Plus, it
so
saves energy
yeah,
for like
and
us because some of us are mostly sleep deprived due to the pressure and stress we take every day for our classwork, and we
yeah,
just end up wasting hours and hours studying and avoiding sleep. So it's good for us. We have that extra amount of time to sleep.
yeah,
okay, yeah, yeah, that's a definite plus of online learning, in my opinion. But now since everything is very uncertain at the moment, even though many people have been vaccinated, it's still pretty uncertain, right? Um,
yeah.
so online learning is going to continue for quite some time. I think we can all agree with that. So
Yeah.
my question is, how do you think online learning can be improved for students?
That's kind of a difficult question because it's so limited. You just have to stare at the screen and hope for the best.
Yeah,
But I guess
Yeah.
probably cameras should be optional. I know it sounds like much more of a it sounds like a biased opinion because I don't really like the camera. But for some of us, we live in a busy household, and some of us suffer from Wi-Fi connection issues. So maybe
if it
keep the
was
camera optional.
okay. Okay, yeah, for sure. That is a very good point.
And probably for the teachers, we should probably the teachers could instead of PowerPoints, they could talk to us more, ask us questions more, like they did in like physical learning. They weren't just focused on the board, right? They would
Okay.
mostly teach us while they would have a discussion with us. But
Right,
now
right,
it's
right.
just a PowerPoint or they're just PowerPoint and then discussion a breakout room
Now it feels more like a lecture rather than a interacted learning.
discussion.
Yeah,
Yeah,
true, true, true.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Anything else?
Yeah, I agree
nothing.
with what Priya said about even teachers also using different modes. But I think even students should also learn to adapt to it because, well, at least in our class, interaction seems to be quite a problem. People aren't really willing to speak as much as they would in offline school. So I think
Yes,
students
I
should,
agree.
yeah, so I think students should also be encouraged to not be afraid to talk in class. So yeah.
I guess in that case, we have to improve the student environment also because most students are scared because most students are scared of other students' opinions. Like,
Yeah,
OMG, what
exactly.
will they think about us? And plus, even if the teacher is, and maybe the teacher's not approachable, if they're strict, maybe even the teacher should
Yeah.
probably change how they approach students. But yeah, definitely class discussion students should be willing to talk to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a really good point because if the students only aren't willing to talk or take any initiative, what more can the teacher do, right?
True, yeah.
Okay. So Now this brings us to our next topic. Now this is something we all love. As students, everyone loves it. And I'm sure you'll agree with me too. And that is exams.
Wonderful.
Yes. Yes, the best season of school time, exam season.
Yeah, right. Now, there is quite a debate about exams, right?
Yeah.
Some people believe that exams are a memory test rather than a test of knowledge. Like it doesn't really test a person's knowledge, but it only tests their memory. Is that what you think so?
I think,
Yeah,
no, sorry, go
Ishana should go
ahead.
first. No, Ishana, you go first.
No, I think the motive behind an exam is very essential, as in testing students on what they've learned and how they've learned it, if it's retained in their heads. But I think the implementation of it is where it's going a little wrong, which is why it seems more like a memory test. I
Okay.
think rather than not having exams, I think the method of how exams are conducted should change. A little more
Right.
of oral questioning maybe, because when you are asked orally is when you understand exactly how much of information a student has retained.
True. So it's
Exactly.
not
Plus,
just memory.
because most students, because like most students, they just memorize everything from the book. Like they think that, oh, we
Yeah,
just have to give this test based on memorization, we'll be fine. So they even choose to not give that extra effort to actually understand the subjects. They just memorize whatever they can and then vomit it out on the paper.
very true.
Yeah. And some people just aren't good at remembering a lot of things, like me. So so
Exactly.
having 80 mark, 100 mark, 120 mark test, it can also become very stressful, right?
Yeah,
And the
True.
whole, it's not just the exam that stresses a student out, it's the whole environment. Everything changes during exams, right? The
yeah,
school
definitely.
environment,
Yeah.
especially. So, I mean, I know we've talked a lot about this, but how do you think the stress around an exam can be reduced? It could be anything simple. At the
Probably
end of
the
the day, it
hype
depends on the
around it should be
student.
reduced. Like it should be taken seriously, but teachers, students, and parents hype it up so much that stresses the
Okay.
student. Because ultimately, it's not the teacher or the parent going to take the test, it's us. And ultimately, we are the ones who face the consequences if we do not get good marks, which mostly they assume because we did not work hard enough.
Yeah.
And that's totally not the case. Some of us crack under pressure. Some of us are better at learning than taking exams.
Right.
Maybe
True.
maybe we should have it. Teachers and parents should have an honest discussion with the student and make them feel comfortable that it's just and make them bring them back to reality. That's just an exam. You're just giving a test that's going to test your knowledge on the subject and not something that will decide your future, that'll
Yeah. It's not
ultimately
life or
decide your
death.
future or something. It's not life or death,
Yeah.
because teachers and parents, even if they don't want to admit it, they do make it seem like that.
I
Yeah.
think
And
what Priya
sometimes,
said is so true.
yeah.
Because I mean, it's the expectations, especially in an Indian syllabus. It's through the roof. People expect so much from you, even people you haven't met for a while, like relatives,
Oh my God.
family.
Yes.
Exactly. Do
And
It's
you remember
teachers
crazy.
boards?
board
Oh,
exams.
boards, yeah.
Exactly. Little relatives from like Kolkata who I never met called me and were like that, oh, how much did you get? And I was like, I have to tell you that?
Wow.
Exactly. It's like, there's no you don't know me unless I have an exam, which is like, okay, cool. But definitely, if the hype around it reduces it, maybe the stress also can reduce, right?
Yeah,
But
very true.
ultimately, I think it lies with the
Yeah,
student. It lies with how you and I handle pressure individually. That's my opinion.
exactly.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, true. Maybe in like more technical terms, if we like avoid mental health for a while, in technical terms, maybe instead of giving us a whole paper that would decide total marks. Maybe like Ishana said in the previous question, we should break it down. Like there should be an
Right.
oral test and then a written test. So it's like
Mhm.
20 marks each.
Right.
So if we lose marks in the oral test, we can make up for it in the next test.
Okay.
True.
Yeah, that's a very good idea. Now that brings me to our next question. Do you think exams, the whole concept of exam can be removed altogether? Like no exams at all? Do you think
I
that
don't.
is possible? Yes or no? That's it.
No, no ways.
No?
I mean,
No.
this system has been going on for so long. I doubt we can just, eradicate exams from the entire syllabus.
Exactly.
That's what actually surprised me, because and this also brings me to my next question. And I was searching for university courses, and I
Mhm.
read for the exams, the testing method, that there will only be 3 courseworks for the duration of the degree, and that's it, no testing. And I mean, I'd be
Oh,
lying if I didn't say I was terrified of that.
excited. Or terrified.
I mean, I'm just not used to it. I'm just used to writing tests like from 20 marks to 40, and now to 60, 80, 100, and 120. I'm just used to it. And I think courseworks, I don't know, it just really scared me. It's a
Actually,
relatively,
I relate to you on that.
yeah.
Yeah, because you were continuing.
No, I was just saying that, it is very scary because I personally am not that used to it. But at
Yeah.
the same time, I think that it tests your practical skills as well as your knowledge.
I
Like
agree with that.
Yeah.
like suppose we learn addition, right? So either we can have in an exam 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, or 5 plus 7 is equal to what is 5 plus 7?
12.
12. Or in courseworks and projects, it can be how you apply it in real life. Like it can be more of a practical approach towards
I agree.
remembering. Yeah.
Like, for example, for our summer holiday homework this year, for the first time, in both physics and chemistry, we were allowed to do investigatory projects, which is similar to the coursework and projects that you're talking about. And
Okay.
even though it was quite terrifying, it was nice because we were able to choose the topics that we wanted to research about, and we were able to do our own research in it. So even though it does seem scary at first, I think once we start with it, I think we'd like it. At least
Right.
I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like even though it is
Um,
time taking and a pretty long process, actually,
Yeah, true.
we we end up, really experiencing it, and how it all comes together at the end. It's very satisfying.
Yeah.
True. For
Yeah.
me, since I've been in both curriculums, Indian and British, the comparison is quite clear. Like in Indian, it was mostly just taking tests and memorizing, but over here, after I shifted, there was much more coursework and like practical work, right? So,
Yeah.
obviously, less memorization was involved, and
Yeah.
it was definitely more convenient to learn better and make it stick in my head better. The concepts in my like it was easier for the concepts to stick to my head better because you're practicing the same thing in your coursework and projects. So
Yeah.
obviously you're applying it more in real life, and it becomes more easier to memorize automatically. So I
Yeah.
guess
And
coursework
sorry, go ahead.
is it's probably a little better than testing, but testing is
Okay.
equally important. Like they go
Mm.
hand in hand.
Yeah,
Testing kind
because
of
testing is
helps you
it is a
solidify
fair.
that knowledge.
True. And it is also a very fair way of judging a person's knowledge. Like, irrespective of how we are, how creative we are, how good at different things we all come together and write one exam. So it's
Yeah.
all very fair,
Mm.
right? Now we'll move to our next topic, that was further education. Okay. So there's quite a bit of debate going around that the education industry has become a money-making industry. And I'm not talking about in the sense of tuition fees, right? I'm talking more in the sense of how application fees are becoming increasingly expensive. And that is just for applying. Like, you aren't even getting in. There's no confirmation that you will get in. And also, if you notice, in a lot of universities in UK, USA, Canada, Australia, and even New Zealand that are predominantly English-speaking countries, you need an English proficiency test to get into the university, and like TOEFLs or IELTS. And these exams are very expensive. And they're not cheap. And if you want to take coaching for these exams, that is another cost. So this isn't very feasible for someone who wants to go abroad but doesn't really have the funds for it, is it?
Yeah, true. I mean, scholarships and things like that are there, but what are the chances of getting a scholarship? You have to be extraordinarily talented or like academically gifted to actually get a scholarship.
Yeah.
Like good grades or like proof that, yeah, I am talented. So the point is quite clear. They are a money-making industry now more than it was an educational industry.
Okay. And yeah, Ishana?
Yeah, sorry. Actually, yeah, about this question, I used to keep thinking about it, and my dad and I also used to have quite a bit of a discussion about this. And even I initially used to think like sorry, I was going to say Priyanka, I meant Priya, about how this is a money-making industry. But then my dad actually told me something different, and that made me think differently, because you can't really have an education industry without money. Everything,
True.
the facilities that we are having, and the type of education and the quality of education that we are receiving in this day and age, it all stems from having a certain amount of money. And even though I don't think money making would be the right term here, because it has a really negative connotation to it, you think of these people just squeezing you individuals for money and profit. But it's not, it doesn't really have to be thought of in that sense, because even though it does require a lot of money, there's a lot of what do you say, it's all for good, it's like an investment for your future.
True. And without a degree, you won't get a job. So it's very important altogether. But for someone who does not come from a very, say, well-off family, it will be very difficult for them to apply abroad, right? Like if I were to apply to, say, UK, and it won't really be very easy for me to apply to universities like Oxford or Cambridge, will it? But at the same time,
not really.
Sorry?
No, I said not really. I agree.
Okay. Ishana, you said it will?
No, I also agreed with you. I mean, you do need the funds for it, yeah.
Yeah, but what about someone who deserves a scholarship but really doesn't have the money to apply to it? What do you do then?
You do have a point there, actually. But I think in the sense...
That's what even I thought. Because, yeah, I agree with you. Definitely, it's for the future of the students studying there. But what about the people who are really deserving to go there, but they did not get the scholarship, or they don't have the funds for it?
Yeah, and the thing with scholarships is that only the best student gets it. Like the second best student who just missed it by like 1 point, he or she will not get it. And it was just, I mean, and even if they do deserve it, they won't get it. So it's just very,
Yeah, you both have a point there. It is quite unfair, because I know that, you see all these articles of people in rural areas and how they're so very smart, but they obviously don't have the funds and the amount of money needed to go to good universities abroad. But at the same time, I think there's not much of a change that we could make in this situation, because even the universities have a point. They need to, maintain, good
standard.
Teachers, not standard, rather the good facilities that they provide to the students, and they do need money for that. So
Yeah,
Not
I
really
agree.
sure what the solution would be here, actually.
Yeah, but at the same time, you really can't just pinpoint education industry and be like, you know what, you're making too much money these days. You really can't say that.
Yeah,
Because everyone
Yeah.
these days is focusing on having money. I mean, that's why we want a good job, to get good money, right? To
true.
have a stable future. So why shouldn't people in the education industry be doing that?
Yeah,
Right?
but at
I
the same
guess
time, yeah, sorry, continue.
no, you continue. I was just like I was reaching to my conclusion, so it's fine.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say at the same time, we do have money-making institutions like this, but there are
Yeah,
other organizations that are also doing well that don't require this much money. For
true.
example, I remember my dad a few months ago had interviewed I think last year's Teacher of the Year. I don't remember his name,
Yeah,
but he was talking about how when at a time when girls weren't really encouraged to study in his village, how he
yeah,
went around personally encouraging parents to let their children study, and how and he was having a school that didn't require a lot of money. It was quite free actually for the students, and he set up
yeah.
this whole organization and everything. So it's true that there are definitely institutions that demand a lot of money, but it's
Mhm.
nice to hear stories like this, where they don't ask for a lot.
True, and even universities in
Yeah.
India like IIT and IIM, all you
Yeah,
need is good marks, and you need that interest in the subject, and you'll get a good deserving seat in the university.
yeah,
So it's not just,
Yeah.
that all of them are money making, right? And a lot of them are also focused on bringing students from all walks of life, you know.
very true.
So I
Yeah.
think I'll have to disagree with this, right?
Yeah, I
I
would
mean,
disagree with
I disagree too, but then in some cases, like Ishana said, there are money-making institutions, so maybe it's hard to agree or disagree.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
both.
somewhere in the middle. Yeah,
Yeah, right in the
It's in
middle.
it's in the gray area.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like sometimes
Yeah.
they do, sometimes they do not. Mostly at the end it's supposed to benefit them for their own students and teachers. They're doing it for that.
Yeah,
true.
true. Okay. Guys, wow, nice discussion. Okay. Okay. So now we're gonna reflect upon this past session. Um Now these are like basic things, yeah. Like what did you think of today's session in like 2 words? How would you describe it? Could be anything.
It
Positive,
was good
negative.
to hear the points of views. It
Okay.
gives you more perspective.
True. Nice.
Yeah, I agree with Priya. I'd say new perspectives if you need 2 words. It was nice to hear different ideas, about the topic.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and it was relatable also at some points, most points,
Yeah,
Yeah.
to know that you are not alone in this, like in the way you're feeling.
definitely.
Okay. Wow, guys, nice. And what was your main takeaway from it? Like, what was one point that really was like, oh yeah, right.
Probably the one where Shana talked about how maybe the institutions are money making, to change my perspective that some money making, they're doing it to benefit their students and the future of their students.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely was like, oh yeah, I never thought about it that way. Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah. For me, it would be what Priya and Darpan as well were talking about, hype and expectations of students. That was
Yeah.
a good point. I mean, I do agree with it, but it was nice the way you guys put it. So, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
And what did you like about the discussion? What do you think could have been improved?
Probably face to face.
Yeah, definitely.
It would be nice to see faces like physically, because like online with the connection problems and the
Yeah.
fact that I just woke up like 5 minutes ago.
Yes, yes. Okay.
I too liked it. I mean, I got to make a new friend, Priya. I haven't talked to you before. So, and it was a nice discussion, I think. And yeah, definitely improvements. Maybe once post-COVID, we could have this face to face.
Yeah, let's hope,
True.
yeah. Okay, so
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for joining me today. It really means a lot for taking time out of your busy schedule to do this with me and with all of us. And I would also like to thank RewirEd for giving us this opportunity and this platform to, as students, to, to convey our opinions, and hopefully it brings a change someday, right? So
Yeah.
thank you, all of you, and I really appreciate all of you being here. Bye.